Okay guys, I'm here today with Robert Drysdale. Huge honor for me at his school in Las Vegas, one of the nicest schools I've ever been. And guys, he's the co-founder of Zenith, one of the biggest jiu-jitsu organizations nowadays. And he was also one of the best jiu-jitsu athletes in the history. He was ADCC Open Class Champion and Jiu-Jitsu World Champion on IBJJF. So thanks so much for being here, Robert. And guys, today he's gonna show us one of his favorite guard passings, which is the Lasso pass. And he just shot an entire instruction all about guard passing. So excited to learn.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on your channel, Bernardo. It's a huge honor to be able to share the screen with you.
Thank you. Let's do it.
All right. So the reason I got the lasso's always been a big issue for me is because some of my best training partners in Brazil were really good at the lasso. So I've been stuck in that position so many times. So I always I had to come up with solutions on how to deal with the problem. It's also one of the most common questions I get at seminars and privates, right? I always open for Q&A and people, what do you guys want to know? Where are you guys struggling? And the answer is like one of the most common answers. I ask questions, I say even like top 5 is how do I deal with the lasso, right? Because it's not necessarily the most offensive of positions, but defensively it's very, very efficient. It's hard to pass. You get a guy with a strong grip, it's a nightmare to break. You can get stuck there the whole match, right? Everyone's been there before. So I have a few solutions, a few fundamentals I go over. And assuming I've made the mistake of giving both of my sleeves, he gets the lasso on that arm and maybe the foot on the bicep on that one, right? This is very common. This is like a standard lasso guard. So first of all, I'm always trying to roll my hand on the outside, right? If my opponent lets me, I don't have a problem passing. But like a guy that knows what he's doing, he's gonna really like stay strong and I can't really roll my hand on the outside. But I still like the stress on his hand. He's working less here than he is here. The other thing I'm aware of that I have to beat this leg before I beat that one. I'm not gonna beat this leg first. So first I gotta get rid of this one, and it's actually easier to get rid of. So instead of pressing the knee here, right, where he's about my height, so when I try to put my knee on the back of his knee, it doesn't really work. I take a step out. When I take a step out, notice that he follows, that means his knee's a little bit lower, it's closer to the ground. Now I can put my knee on the back of his knee. So it's a combination of pressing my knee on the back of his knee as I swim inside with my left hand and anchor my hand on the inside of his knee. Now this anchor is important because there's a good chance that Bernardo's gonna try to recover. He's gonna try to recover by going over or under, and I have to block like a windshield wiper. So no matter where he goes, I follow. The other thing he might try to do is to shoulder shrimp. When he shoulder shrimps, to try to create space, I close the gap. The more he tries to move, the more I stack him, right? But it's important that I'm aware of this because as he moves that leg, I have to move my elbow and my left foot. A lot of people forget about this. And if I allow this space, he might be able to get that foot back. We can start all over again, okay? So one more time. Step out, press, circle. As I press, anchor the hand, windshield wiper. So my elbow and my knee have to follow his leg around. Now that I've beaten that leg, I can start beating this one. So look at my right hand. If I try to roll my right hand to the outside, I'm gonna have a lot of problems. The reason I'm gonna have a lot of problems is because I'm not strong enough. I don't have a lever here. This is a very weak position for me, very strong one for Bernardo. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move my right leg all the way in. Notice that I'm not so much pulling my arm back, I'm more moving my right leg forward so I can get my hand behind the back of my knee. So when I move my leg in, I'm able to hide this hand behind the back of the knee. Once that hand is anchored on the back of the knee, all I gotta do is step out. Now you can see by the expression on Bernardo's face, he's not having a lot of fun. His fingers are hurting. In case it didn't break, and sometimes they're very strong, it doesn't, I put my kneecap on his fingertips, and then I yank it back, and that does the job. So do it one more time. Yep. Lasso, foot on the bicep. I step out, I press, I circle, I establish, take a step forward with the left leg, windshield wiper with the left elbow. I move my knee and I hide my hand behind the knee, and I'm gonna walk as many times as I have to. I'm gonna have to walk a little bit so I put enough stress on his hands. If it doesn't break, normally it does break. If it doesn't break, I put my kneecap on his fingers, I yank it back, and I'm ready to start passing. Don't make the mistake of going straight back in, and that's what a lot of people do. They break the lasso, but they're on autopilot and they go right back in. It happens all the time, right? So one thing you could do is switching stances. Instead of having my right leg forward, I'll walk in with my left leg forward, hiding this arm. That makes sense. So I don't walk right into it, right?
And most of the people that are good with lasso, they're good to one side, right? They're not good to the other side.
Like the Lahi of Butterfly, very few people play guard. I think that's something to do with right hands, sided brain, left-sided brain.
Yeah.
Just like you play soccer, right, with only one side. you're not necessarily coordinated on both sides, right?
No, that makes sense. So Robert, you almost like go all the way down to one side, you take care of the foot on the biceps, then you go all the way down to the other side and you take care of the lasso. That's kind of like the big picture.
Because I have two problems, right? I can't solve them both at the same time.
Yep.
From my experience, beating this arm without beating this leg first is very difficult.
Yep.
But this guy's fairly easy to beat. It's not that hard. It's easy to get rid of. Once I establish, I'll contingent on me like making sure I have that windshield wiper motion. So if he tries to go under, I close. If he tries to go over, I open. If he tries to shoulder shrimp and move back, I advance this foot. I end up stacking him almost, so he can't really recover. I just have to be active about moving forward and blocking his foot. Once I've beaten this side, now I can start beating the arm on the other side.
Yeah. Oh, Robert, and a personal question here. So every time that I hear a name, the first thing that comes to my mind is almost like a mystery. Because I heard that you on the mat with your training partners, you were always the toughest guy on the mat, and you would kill everybody. So what was the... sometimes you see a lot of people that they're very good on training and not as good on tournaments, and sometimes you see the opposite. They're not as good on training and they're very good on tournaments. Yeah. You were kind of both. Like you were very good on training and very good in the tournament. So what was your thing on training that makes everybody say that? You would kill everybody in the training and that. Did you...
Man,
what was the secret? Like,
I think honestly, and people don't believe me when I say this, I was never the most athletic guy.
Yep.
I was never the most technical.
Yep.
Like I watch somebody, I like guys like you, like, man, that guy's far more technical than I am. But I've always had just very competitive, like very, very competitive.
Okay.
Always. That was like my...
On every single row, on every...
Dude, like I'd lose my mind if I lost a round in practice. Like I couldn't sleep at night. But it's what helped me because it just made me self-reflect a lot. I think that was like my biggest asset was just... Whenever I lost, I never blamed other people. I always blame myself. Every time someone swept me, it was never like blame the mats, blame the referee. Like it's always like I made a mistake, and then I go home and I'd be thinking about it. So my drive home, I used to live in these two, it's close to Sao Paulo. So I used to drive like 2 hours each way. On the drive back, the entire time, I'm just dreaming, just like daydreaming, thinking about my mistakes. And I made it a mission next day to come back and beat everyone in practice. But it was.
And then you kept with that for the rest of your career.
Yeah, well, you just have to slow down at some point. You know, it beats you up if you drive your car at 150 miles an hour every day. The engine won't last as long. You know, so that's kind of what happens to athletes. But I enjoy being competitive. I got a kick out of it, like trying to beat my partners, and the ones that I like to train with the most are the ones that beat me or that give me resistance. I never liked training with people that didn't give me resistance. The better they were, the more I enjoyed training with them, and I got a kick out of trying to outdo them at their game. Like it was something that I enjoyed, and you know, it causes some problems along the way because not everyone has that same mindset, you know, to be competitive like that. But that's what I enjoy. It's what I love about jiu-jitsu is that it's so competitive.
Okay, man, that's amazing. No, that was a great answer. Yeah. So guys, Robert just shot an entire structure all about guard passing with gi. And it's going to be at IBJJFanatics.com, and maybe by the time you're watching, it's already there. So make sure to check that out. And thanks so much, Robert.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Please help me out to grow my YouTube channel. Just click subscribe. And to watch more videos, just click under see more videos. I hope you enjoyed.
IBJJFanatics.com. Use the promo code YouTubeFaria to get 10% off any instructional video. Improve your jiu-jitsu faster.